clear communication. We realized that setting expectation with the clients up front can save you a lot of stress and frustration later. It's not just about selling homes, it's about educating and guiding people through one of the biggest decisions of their lives. So setting the right expectations through the process, it gives you a better result and eliminate frustrations by the end. And what I mean by that, just to give an example, is like, what is the expectation for the appraisal, for example, and what is expected to negotiate? Or for example, inspections, what can you negotiate once you do these inspections? Some people think that they can get a brand new house because they're going to ask for everything to be replaced. And sometimes that's not the case. So setting those expectations makes a smoother transaction. The thing that I didn't know that I wish I learned at the beginning, for the love of God, let's plan for the taxes. That was a hard lesson that I learned 2 or 3 years into the business because I was working self-employed, never thought about this. So if you're starting, get with your tax advisor and set up your life properly, because that surprise you don't want to have 2-3 years into the business.
That is gold, Leo. Ironically enough, my wife, Chelsea, and I sat with our accountant yesterday afternoon. So I can completely agree and relate to that. Get those items in order. It'll save some surprises down the road. So thank you for that. Let's go to Mackenzie. Mackenzie, what has been one of your biggest learnings in the early days of real estate?
For myself, when I was being trained, when I first started, my manager always stressed how important it was to take time for yourself, schedule your appointments, whether it be for your kids or your doctor's appointment or whatever it was. It didn't matter. The client didn't need to know that. But taking care of your personal business is important. And I struggled with that for a lot of years, and I still kind of do. But it is so, so, so important because you can get burnt out very fast. And also, to tie on to the taxes, look at your business as a business. This is not just a job. It is a business that we are running, and it needs to be ran properly. Otherwise, you have a lot of surprises that aren't fun. So that would be my lesson.
That's so good, Mackenzie. So good. And I know for myself, one of the very first lessons that I learned in real estate was the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have experience so that you can learn faster and learn from their mistakes. And as a follow-up to that, the importance of asking questions. When I first got into real estate, I was a sponge, and I intentionally went out to ask questions of others. Everything from how did you grow your business? What do you do in this situation? How do you deal with buyers versus sellers? How do you deal with a change or a shift in market conditions? And just asking those questions and then leaning into the answers from seasoned agents was so helpful in terms of getting business off the ground. Because to Mackenzie's point, this isn't just something you wake up and do every couple of days, or, if you feel like it. This is your business. So treating it like a business and really learning from others has been one of the biggest lessons, even today. I mean, we're learning and we're listening. And this is one of those examples of a time when you can really, really benefit and grow yourself personally, but also your business on a professional level. So some great takeaways, some great answers. Love those shares. And let's kind of shift gears a little bit. We'll go into the next question here. And this is a key piece of business development. What do you think is the key to successful business networking? And let's jump back to Jason to start this one off.
Ooh, that's a tough question. So as far as business networking, I think it's like someone else earlier had mentioned too. I think consistency, is obviously, very, very important too. But with business networking, I think it's just trying to make sure that you're doing something, whether it's every day, every week, once a month, but just being consistent to try to, make sure that you're getting in front of or with or engaged or plugged in with the right people. And, everybody's heard that saying that, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. So I think it's just making sure that, you're always looking for, opportunities. And even with like the world of EXP, there's so many things here where they have networking opportunities. You can meet with other agents, other people across the country. But I think it's just always making sure that you're trying to be consistent on, getting in front of those people. And also, I think too, what's important is not being afraid to like leave a situation, because I know sometimes, and maybe we've all been in this situation before, where we have like mastermind groups or networking events, and I'm all for it, but I always have in the back of my mind, I'm like, none of these people are going to be buying or selling homes. We're all licensed. So when I'm spending time, if it just turns into like, gossip, water cooler talk, if you're meeting with people over and over, and if there's really nothing coming out of it, don't be afraid and be okay with being a little uncomfortable, maybe stepping out and saying, hey, this might not be the right networking, opportunity for me. Because I think you want to get into a networking opportunity that, you're going to feel like when you leave, wow, I got one or two things that I can take away today and actually start implementing today. Because, sometimes we all get a little bit in that habit of where, we get into a group, we get comfortable, and after we leave, we're like, all we did was talk about, the football game or the weather or, the next, all the drama going on in the world. And we didn't really get much out of it. So I think it's just being consistent with always trying to make sure you're in the right group and taking advantage of what, EXP has to offer as far as, their training, their mastermind groups and things like that.
Love it. That's so good. Thank you for that, Jason. And let's jump to Stuart. What do you think is a key to successful business networking?
Well, I would piggyback a little bit on what Jason said. I thought that was very well put. I'm going to take a slightly different tack on this. The circle that we deal with is so important in supporting our business. And for example, the lenders I depend on, the title companies and the pest control people and et cetera. And I've got a policy regarding that. Most of those people I've dealt with for, 15, 20, even 30 years. And I have really a personal policy as far as people that I deal with are concerned, and dependability and trustworthiness are so important. I always meet with somebody before I do business with them, and we lay out expectations. And I'll give an example. Title companies are always chasing us, and et cetera. So I remember the last time that I sat down with a title company. I said, look, here's the type of expectations I have of you, and here's what I expect of you. And one of the things that I always lay out is that I'm never, ever, ever going to blame you. I'm never going to throw you under the bus. If someone says, well, the title company messed up, I'm going to say, you know what? They are the most diligent, hardworking people. If something happened that went awry, it was probably my fault. Let me see what I can do to get that cleared up for you. And that seems to smooth things out. But I don't ever want a relationship where there's going to be any finger point. I want a relationship where it's cooperative. And I want a relationship where we can depend on each other. I actually get referrals. My lender has sent me hundreds of thousands of dollars of commissions just in the last 10 years. And, same thing with title and pest control, and all the people I deal with buy or sell from me and refer people. And those are the kind of relationships that you can't just take for granted. If you're jumping from lender to lender to lender and title to title and pest and control and all these different people, then you need to rethink how you're doing this, because that should be a very solid and very important core part of your business.
That's so good. I love that the conversation is had around expectations, so that there's no surprises, nobody's being kind of kept in the dark, but you're making it very clear from the beginning what it is you want in terms of a level of service. And I think that's an important piece to just be mindful of, because I think sometimes it's easy to just get someone referred to us or, be put in touch with somebody, but we never talk about what it is we expect of them. And you have to protect your business. Mackenzie said it earlier, we're running a business here. So the importance of having those key players and stakeholders supporting what you do is a key piece. So thanks for that, Stuart. That was great. Let's jump to Mackenzie. What do you think is the key to successful business networking?
Well, for myself personally, I don't involve too much in like networking. I really try and just focus on my business, but I absolutely 100% agree with, who you surround yourself with as far as like recommendations for lenders, for attorneys. We don't deal with title companies out here, but is so important, and setting expectations is huge because you try, you recommend these people and then something happens, and I don't know about you, but I feel like it's my fault if something happens, and it's a reflection on me, and I want to make this as smooth as possible for my clients. And I'm the one who's going to be cleaning up stuff if something happens. And that's just how I run my business. But as far as like networking, I know there's a lot of agents that participate in, different events. And I used to feel like that was something that was really important that I needed to do early on in my career, but I've just kind of more so focused on what is important for my business, for my family, for myself, for my well-being, and surrounding yourself with good people is important, and positive people.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. Let's jump to Leo. What do you think is key to successful business networking?
I'm going to take, because everybody touched in different points and they are all very good. So I'm going to take a type of look of this, that it's an exercise that I usually do with my wife. It's like anytime we are trying to network with different groups or events, I always step back and I ask myself questions. Like, why am I wanting to network right now? Like, what's my objective? And the importance of this question is because that sets you up for the right expectations, like what you expect, and it gives you an idea of what to require as you expect from the other people that you're networking with. And that gives you also the power to get in there and go like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. It's time for me to move on. Otherwise, I'm going to waste my time here, because I'm not going to get what I was expecting. And I say that because I found myself sometimes looking at the situation and going like, okay, this change that we had during this year, I went to some events and all that the other people was talking about is how difficult this would make life. And I didn't want to focus on that particular side of things. I just wanted to network, to find a different way, a different angle to look at the situation, and how can we overcome these difficulties. But most people was just looking to only the difficulties, not to find the solutions. And that I had to remove myself from there. So to close it out, I would say not just knowing why you're networking and what are your expectations, but prepare yourself emotionally, because that will give you the power to actually ask and to actually give what you're actually trying to do.
That is gold, Leo. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for the other responses from the panel here. On this side, in terms of successful business networking, a focus and something that we've done in our business is kind of taking the I guess attention away from necessarily talking about, houses and the actual business, and talking more about the person on the other side of the conversation. What do they like to do? What are they into? What is their family structure? Do they go on holidays? What are some of their hobbies? And really getting to know them on a personal level, and almost taking it away from the focus on, housing and market, and more about the relationship. We're in a relationship-based business, and a line that I've used over, my decades is that people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. And when they make the decision to buy into you, or to refer to you, or to create partnership with you, it's usually because they trust you, they like you, they have a relationship, they feel comfortable with you. And so for us, for networking, it's really been about just being present in people's lives and asking them questions about what matters to them and building that relationship first, so that when down the road, in the event there's something that's needed in terms of buying or selling, they make the choice and proactively reach out versus us, being in their ear all the time. So it's a little bit of a kind of a shift in human psychology, just to kind of empower them to make the decisions. But that has been a successful strategy that we've used in terms of networking. So some great responses. Thank you, guys. And we're going to jump to a very timely question, given where we're at in the year. So the holiday seasons is typically a little slower time of year. I know up here in Canada, 25% of total sales transactions happen between October and February. So we're in that time zone where it's really slow. I don't know what it's like in other markets. You guys can share that. But I know up here, just because of shifts in weather and things like that, the market does slow. So the holidays are in play right now. It's typically slower. When business is slow and you're not in the trenches, so to speak, as often as you normally would be, how do you keep your spirits high? How do you keep motivated? How do you keep going? What are some tips and tricks that get you out of bed and doing the work in your business? So we'll start with Jason. Would love to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, I think this time of year, it's always, like you said, it's a little bit quieter. We always try to, hope to keep things going and do our best to stay positive. And, we always tell ourselves and our clients, it's a great time, which it is. But obviously, realistically, it does kind of slow down, which, we have to all prepare for. But I think for me, one of the things that, helps stay plugged in, stay positive is there's always the two mindsets is, we're always either, working in the business or working on the business. Obviously, we're working in the business when we're busy and, selling houses and writing offers and listing. But I think right now, for the, the fourth quarter and even during the holidays, I really try to focus on working, on the business right now where, goal setting, kind of looking at what I'll do is I try to look and see, hey, what systems worked last year, which ones didn't work, what can I do to improve on what did work? Really try to, even I know it sounds silly, but when we're all, running around like chickens with our heads cut off, I mean, my desk is like a nightmare. It's full of papers and piles and sticky pads and sticky notes and all that. So even just take the time to just organize your desk, go through all the, notes that we've taken throughout the years that we're so excited to take during these seminars and webinars, and then we throw in our desk and never look at again, go back and revisit those. I can't tell you, there's been so many times where, we hear so many great ideas. We're writing down things like at a fevered pace, and then we throw them in a drawer and, let's be honest, we never look at them ever again. So, I've gotten some great ideas. Go back and revisit those, and help to make some of those ideas maybe a goal for 2025 or into the first quarter. So I think it's just, instead of wasting the time or spending time wallowing on, oh, it's so slow, use that time as like excitement to think about, wow, I've got some undivided, uninterrupted time that now I can plan strategically for what I'm going to want to accomplish in the new year. Because, it's great to do that throughout the year, but it's very hard to sometimes plan and, strategically look at what we're wanting to do when we're in the thick of, writing offers and houses are pending and we're, in that crazy spring and summer market. So I think it's just using the time to really maybe work on the business right now and not be, since we're not working in it as much as we might like.
I love that, Jason. You used a word that I just want to pull out for the people that are listening, and that was uninterrupted. How many times have you woken up in the morning as an agent and you've had a plan, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call or an email or something comes up that totally spins your day a different direction? And that can happen a lot in those busy times. And when you use the term uninterrupted, it really just kind of popped for me, because this is a time when the likelihood of those surprise emails or phone calls coming across your desk or through your phone, it's lower. So lean in and leverage that time. I think that is a great word for all of us to be mindful of. And get into our business and plan and be prepared for the coming year. So thank you for that. That was gold. Let's jump to Stuart. In terms of the holiday season, how do you keep motivated? You're 40 plus years. How do you keep getting up and doing what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I really enjoy it, and that's the most important thing. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you need to think about making changes so you do enjoy it. But I always have tried to, ever since I got in the real estate business, we tried to look at things a little differently. So many years ago, when I was running a pretty good sized real estate office, we always had a New Year's party on September the 30th. And the reason we did it on September the 30th, because what you do in October, November, December typically goes into your bank account in the next year. So that was really to emphasize that point. Not only did everybody enjoy it, but it was to emphasize the point of, hey, what you do now has a big impact on what your income is next year. So that was very, very effective. And I've always done that. Always thought of September the 30th as New Year's for my real estate business. But the next thing is, if what I do in October, November, and December goes into my bank account the next year, what about October, November, and December? Well, what I do before that goes into my bank account. So what I do during the summer. So I did an analysis many, many years ago. And your market may differ. It could be different in even across town. But in my market, one of the most successful times to sell your home is in the fourth quarter. Now, I don't mean it's the most active, you have the most buyers, and it's the most successful. And I'll just give you a quick example. If you put 100 homes on the market in April and 80 of them end up going to closing, you've got 80% success. Well, you may put half that on the market in November. You may put 50 on the market in November. But if 45 of them close, that's 90% success. And so that's what I found, is that there was a higher success ratio when you listed your house in the fourth quarter. And then I went out trying to find out why. Well, because employers often move employees in the fourth quarter, and they want them in and ready by the first of the year. When people get out and look at houses in the fourth quarter, they're not kicking tires. They're not checking things out. They have to buy a house. So I started doing some pretty serious marketing in the summer for the fourth quarter. And it has paid off well over the years, especially that one about, hey, when's the best time to sell your house? Well, most people don't know that, hey, it's a lot more active in the spring, sure, but it can be very successful in the fourth quarter. And that's statistical in my area. And I would highly encourage you to kind of look at the same thing. So anyway, those are just little differences that we've discovered and put to use.
Love it, Stuart. Know your market is the takeaway there. Know the specifics of when it's most active, but also when it's most successful, like Stuart said, so that rather than working with clients when everyone else is, look for those pockets of opportunity. That's a great takeaway, Stuart. Let's move to Mackenzie and the holiday seasons. What do you do to keep your spirits high when it's a little slower?
So for myself, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but I look at this business as kind of like a roller coaster, and there was a lot of ups and downs. And with like a hustle mentality, when it got slower, it made me freak out. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's taken me a couple years to like just step back and like look at the big picture and say, all right, it's a little slower right now. It's okay. Let's take this time to, focus on family stuff, focus on, like, some people focus on their business. I look at, okay, it's going to come up on tax time. Now is the time that I can really, because I'm very diligent about, everything's got to be paid on time. Everything's got to be filed on time. I don't want to pay the government any extra that I don't need to. So I take that time and really like go through my stuff. And I know that come, a little bit after the first of the year, it's going to be crazy again. And so it's just a matter of like stepping back and taking that time and just breathing and enjoying and knowing everything's going to be okay. But I do work with mostly buyers. So right now, because there's not as much inventory, but there's not as many buyers out right now. And we've had the market has been crazy the last few years here. So for them to be able to go out now and not have to compete with 10, 15 offers and maybe have it them be the only one, or there's one or two offers, I think is a better opportunity for them. So it's like reaching out to them and encouraging them that this probably is a really great time. So that's what I do in this time of year for myself.
Love it. Yeah. Timing the market, right? I mean, we hear our clients say they want to time the market, but as agents, we can flip it, like you mentioned, Mackenzie, and time the market when it's most advantageous to them. So thanks for that share. That was really good. Leo, what do you and your wife do during the holidays when it can get a little slower? How do you keep your spirits high?
We pour love into each other. I am very blessed to have my birthday on December 11th, my anniversary on December 17th. So we take the time to celebrate us and our family, and part of that celebration comes our clients. Since we started real estate, we made a point every end of the year. We'll take a family picture with no advertising. We made into a card and we send from our family to their families. And clients who closed with us since the beginning still receiving these today, and their response on social media, it just tells everything. But I wanted to focus on something else. All of us have our routines of what we do, right? And some of these routines may be market specific due to weather, due to the condition of the economy on the specific market. Some locations may be more tourism prone to. Some other market might be more like construction based. And so all that to say, which strategy to use is the question, especially for the new agents out there. So I'm going to leave you guys with two titles. One of them, the first one is how to do it, what Mackenzie was just talking about, I believe. The year in 12 weeks, so the 12-week year, right? So basically, you break your year for your finances, marketing, everything that you do in real estate in 3 months, which is going to count for 12 weeks. If you set the open and closing of your business year in 12 weeks, every 3 months you have your taxes done, you have your marketing done. It goes with what I believe was Jason said, or Stuart said about what you do today is going to come in your bank account in the next quarter. So it doesn't matter what month of the year you are working. Whatever you're doing today, it's 90 days ahead that you're going to see the fruits. So that's the first title. It's the 12-week year. And the second one is Profit First for Real Estate Agents. That will give you an idea of how to structure your finances so you can prepare yourself for this time of the year. How you're going to enjoy, how you're going to focus on self-development, on analyzing your business so you can prepare for the next quarter, for the next year, to set up goals if you have no idea how to set up yourself properly. So taking the time, these seasons of ups and downs in the business, whether you have that ups and downs on the end of the year, the middle of the year, the beginning of the year, taking the time to actually self-develop yourself with great books, enjoying your family time, and projecting the right expectations for the next quarter. And I say that keeping in mind that you have to project the right expectations, because if you're projecting your goals on top of nothing that you analyzed based on the past, then I don't know if that's going to be the right expectations. So having the data that you collect from the last 3 months, reanalyzing them and projecting the new quarter, I think is the best way to go.
Love that, Leo. And I think you forgot to mention one of the things that you do to keep your spirits high, and I know this about you, is you love to dance and have some fun. And that kind of goes into what I'm going to share in terms of how do you keep your spirits high is you got to remember why you got into the business. That's been a big thing for me is when it is quiet and when I'm worried or anxious about where is the next deal coming from? When am I going to get a phone call? What about that client I've been nurturing for so long? I reflect and take some time to think about what it is I love about what I do, some of the success stories that we've been a part of, and that helps lift my spirits, keep me motivated. But over and above that, Mackenzie kind of talked about it, is the importance of self-care. And we are in a business of service. We are waking up to serve others daily. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So something that I've really been focusing in on is pouring into my cup right now, because it's a time when we can be a little more selfish. We can be a little bit more, flexible in our schedules. You know, we talked about the term uninterrupted. We can go and take a couple hours for ourselves personally to build ourselves up, whatever that looks like. If that's reading, if that's writing, if that's going to the gym, if that's talking to a friend, going out for lunch, going to a movie. There's so many different things that we all do personally that fill our cups. And in these downtimes, to keep my spirits up, it's really important to fill my cup so that I can then fill others' cups and be the best person, best agent, best partner, best friend, best dad, all the things. So yeah, leaning in and just pouring into self and being a little selfish. Had a business coach tell me once, it's okay to be selfish in your business. You give to others all the time. You need to build and grow yourself as well to serve at the level that you want to serve. So those are some great takeaways. I hope you were writing them down. Like Jason said, maybe next week, the week after, pull out what you're writing down today and actually spend some time with it. So let's move to the next question. And this is a good one, especially given current state. So how do we know when it's time to implement an automation tool, use AI, or not? Because we don't want to waste our money on these tools. So are there things that each of you do to either review, analyze, or determine whether or not you're going to introduce or bring AI or some type of automation into your business? Let's start with Jason.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I was excited when you asked that, because for me, we do that quite a bit. And we try to keep it simple. I'm big on, as far as automation and processes and systems. So my thing is, if I find myself doing something more than 3 times, like even, for example, something as simple as, if there's a canned email or a text message I'm sending or something like that, I'm like, okay, I'm sending the same thing. I'm doing the same thing more than 2 or 3 times. What can I do to automate this? Is it, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Zapier. Is it like, can we make like a Zapier thing where it can go into our CRM? Is it just even something as simple as, I know I'm big on, with texting, I do like a lot of shortcut codes where, I'll have this, we all send the same, like, happy holidays message, or, hey, just checking in on you, whatever it is. But if, instead of the same old, making a shortcut code for my phone, if it's something that easy. But yeah, I try to keep it simple where if I find myself doing something more than 2 or 3 times, I'm like, okay, what do I got to do to make this automated? So that way I can spend more time, either looking for new clients, doing something more productive, and making sure I'm doing things, to grow the business, versus doing those things that are just kind of like, maybe the things that are just redundant, or something maybe like even an assistant could have. And, another thing with automation is if there's, a different level that you're at, maybe it's something you could even look into. We have a virtual assistant, which is very, very affordable. It's super cheap, maybe 10, 20 hours a week, but, giving them things that they can be doing that maybe are a little more redundant, maybe do need to be automated, but it's something that I don't have to do. So I can, again, just keep on focusing on, the lead generation and growing the business. So.
That's good stuff. Test and learn. Let's go to Stuart. How do you evaluate and determine if AI and automation is the right thing for your business?
Well, once again, I'm going to have to say I'm enjoying going after Jason, because his points are very well made and well thought out, and I'm going to just kind of follow up on that. And that's in a little different wording, the way I see it is if it's something that really I don't need to be doing, and that's kind of what Jason said. But I remember when I first got my very first assistant, what did I have her do? Well, things I didn't need to be doing. The most important thing I can be doing is being with a client. The second most important thing I can be doing is generating clients. And there's a lot of things that are related to that, but we use AI for several different things. But one of the most helpful to me is analyzing spreadsheets. So I can do a pretty massive download from properties, and I can have AI basically answer tons of questions for me. I've written out several different AI models that it'll just give me a nice little spit out of, hey, this is what's going on, and these are the trends, and these are the answers to your questions. So in addition to market analysis for people, when I sit in front of them about listing their home, I can also give them details that they're probably not going to get from anybody else because of the way we've written these models. But if I were to do it myself by hand, which I used to do, it's so time consuming. Now it just takes a few minutes. So where in your business are there tasks that are absolutely necessary, but as Jason said, hey, I need to be generating business, not doing these administrative tasks. So AI can fill in on a lot of those type of things. But one thing I would discourage is just following the group, and because everybody else is doing it, do it too. Because there's a lot of things AI does that we just don't need in our business, and just because it's popular elsewhere doesn't mean it's good for what we do. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, that does. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Stuart. Mackenzie, how do you evaluate or determine when it's time to implement automation or AI in your business?
So I haven't dipped my toe too much in AI. I use that just for my listing descriptions because I'm horrible at that, and I would take hours and hours and hours to write them, and it was frustrating. So for that, and then also, like in New York State, I don't know about other states, they like to fine us and monitor. And if you say one thing that's wrong or do something that's wrong, you're going to get fined. So I like to have control over and know what's happening with everything, because I'm the one who has to pay the consequences for that. So for me personally, I haven't quite gotten there. Maybe in the future I will. I haven't really found a need for it. And like I said, I'm like a control freak. So I got to know what's going on. And that's something I do need to work on, but it's just me. So maybe someday I will implement it more, but currently not so much.
That's right. Well, it's kind of like what Stuart said. Just because everybody's saying to do or try a certain thing doesn't mean that it's the best thing for you to do in your business. So love that honest answer. And let's flip it to Leo. Same question. How do you know when it's time to implement automation tool with AI or not?
Thank you. And to piggyback on what Stuart, Jason, and Mackenzie already said, what I would say is this. You know it's time when you are already doing something. You know how it's done. You know what is the level of results that you expect from that process. And now it's just a matter of finding the right AI model, like Stuart was talking about, or the right automation tool that's going to just repeat what you already know how to do. That's when you know it's the right time to implement. And this is my own lesson. Don't try to implement things just because you don't like to do certain things, or because, well, as long as you don't like, but you know how to do it, I guess you will be fine. But don't do it just because you don't want to do it, or don't want to learn how to do it, because that's when you know it's the wrong time. You will get taken advantage of from certain tools and processes, because here's the other thing. Don't overcommit yourself to automations, meaning Don't sign lengthy contracts. Don't pay absurd amount of money up front. That's not the best way to implement these tools. So I would say, if you have any doubt, seek counseling from the other agents that already uses the tool, and ask them the do's and don'ts. Get some feedback, because the best way to implement is when you're already doing something that you need to take off of your plate because you want to spend more time with your clients.
That's a great answer. And it's like you knew what I was going to say, Leo, because I agree wholeheartedly. Ask others who are potentially already using what you're considering before you just jump into it. There's lots of ways to do business in this industry. There's lots of ways to create efficiencies. And I think for us, it's evaluating what we're doing and then asking ourselves where we can create those efficiencies. And if there are tools available to do that via either communications, videos, content, if there's ways for us to do things faster and more efficiently without losing the personal touch of our brand, of our business, of how we are perceived and come across in the market, then we'll consider it, but we won't do it blindly, which is what you were talking about, Leo. Ask others, and if there's people using a tool or an automation that you think might have value, before saying yes, it's always best to learn from others who are already there. So great answers. Thank you, guys, and Mackenzie. And I wanted to kind of shift it. It's a great question to kind of move into. A lot of new agents are always trying to find, what's the magic wand or the special place I can go to find new business or generate new clients. And there's a lot of opportunities and options out there. But what have been your most effective current income streams? Where, when you look at your business in 2024, where did you get the majority of your transactions done? What were those kind of pillars in your business so that we can share that and get the information out to these agents that are listening? And we'll start with Jason.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is important too with the income streams. I know it sounds cliche, but obviously we all have like our past clients. So I know for me personally, it's always past clients, which for a new agent it doesn't really do much for them because they're like, well, I don't have any past clients. So what do I do? So I think it's as far as a pillar, because I use the same terminology too as having pillars of income. I think what's important too, whether it's past clients, whether it's, social media, whether it's your sphere, is I think what's really helpful is just to make sure you're doing the lead follow-up. Because I think a lot of times where agents, whether they're new or seasoned or experienced or every word you want to use, is, we all spend so much time like spending money on like Zillow leads, or we spend, our emotional money at open houses for hours away from our family, or maybe it's, real dollars on other, paid marketing, and we spend and spend and spend, but then we get these leads. And I think the key is that we never follow up. So I think for me, I always tell my team is, the real money is in the follow-up, whether it is from your sphere, whether it's from open houses is another big one we do, whether it's from, if you're paying for, different leads from different sources, whether it's Facebook or Zillow, but it's just the key. I think you mentioned what's the secret or what's the key, for that. It's really just following up. And it sounds simple, but how many agents I talk to where I'll go on an appointment with a client or I'll meet with a seller or a buyer. And, we all been there before where you go to someone's home and you see like 4 other realtors magnets on their fridge, or, I'll always think it's funny when I go to list a home that maybe they just bought, 2 or 3 years ago, and they clearly bought it with another agent. And sometimes, once you get that relationship built, I'll say, I'm just curious, I'm always interested in this. Why didn't you call the agent that you bought the home with? Why am I sitting here in front of you? And 99 times out of 100, literally they'll say, well, we never heard from them ever again. We bought the home and then we didn't hear from them again. So I always think that's pretty sad, as we do so much work to try to get our clients. And then when we do get them, or when we do even meet a new, make a relationship, make a connection, we never really stay in touch. And I think a lot of the money, in whatever pillar you're using, it's irrelevant. It's just when you do have that pillar is to follow up with that person or that lead, because it's amazing how much time and money and energy we spend to get them. And then when we do get them, we maybe call them once, you send them an email, and then that's it. Where, it's just making sure you're having that follow up and having a system to, again, going back to what we talked about before, consistently follow up in a manner that's appropriate for that specific person.
Absolutely, Jason. The follow-up is so important. We actually sat around the table last week as our group of agents here locally, and we were all asked the question, how many deals did you leave on the table this year? And there wasn't a single agent who said none. And, it's a real honest question that I think when we ask ourselves, it does come back to that follow-up piece. So thank you for that. And let's move along to Stuart.
So on this one, I'm going to really delve into current business. Now, if you're a new agent, I very, very highly encourage you to follow two paths. There's so many to follow, but from a generic perspective, people of course, to build your sphere, and then as they do business with your past clients. And then, of course, expertise. You're on the same level as everybody else unless you become an expert in an area of real estate where you can gain knowledge and experience above anybody else. So I'm going to give you two quick examples. Past clients and customers should nearly always be everybody's top income stream. So a while back, I pulled together, because I'm a marketer. That's really the first thing I'd say about myself. I'm a marketer. And marketers always check and see, all right, why am I getting response? How am I getting response? How can I improve my response? So I pulled some of my past clients and customers together. Some of them I took to brunch. Some of them I went one-on-one. Some of them I, just talked to on the phone. But I did basically my top 25 to 30 people. And I said, look, I'm giving you permission to be completely honest with me. I want to know, is the way I contact you and the information I send you, is that something I can improve on? Could I do better? Do you look forward to getting it? I had a list of questions for them. Anyway, after I got all the responses, I changed the way I communicated with my past clients and customers. Now, I want you to listen to this. The next year, the same group of people, not the 25 to 30, but all of my past clients and customers, I increased my business from that group by 94%. It's nearly double just by saying, hey guys, how can I serve you better? What can I do that you'd look forward to getting, that you'll be excited about, that you go, man, I'm glad Stuart sent this? Nearly doubled the referral business I got from that group of people. So you can always improve what you're doing within any group. I'm going to throw one more example at you if I'm not overstepping my time. Had a farm, and I believe that in any group, there's always a better group. Take your favorite sports teams. Aren't there a few better players than anybody else? Ask any salesman who has a clientele. I don't care what industry they're in. They always have a few best clients, like the 25 or 30 I mentioned, right? So in this farm, I identified what I call a micro list within the database. So the farm had 971 people. My micro list had 73 people. That year that I identified that and did some exclusive marketing to that group of 73, I listed 7 houses from the 73 and 7 houses from the 971. So you can always take what you have and you can delve in, dig down, and improve it and get more income out of it. You don't always have to be searching for new stuff. You can do better with what you have. As a matter of fact, if it's successful, there's probably a way to make it more successful. I hope that makes sense.
That is absolute gold. Sometimes we try to guess, but what you just talked about, Stuart, in terms of focus groups, essentially, and being intentional with following up with an existing audience that you can then learn and leverage from. Thank you for sharing. let's jump to Mackenzie. Mackenzie, what would you say in terms of effective income streams for your business, and what would be the most effective ones you have?
So I guess we're kind of answering two questions in this from the answers here. I mean, as far as for like new agents or agents trying to, have more business, I think the most important part is just communicating, the women and men tend to run their business a little differently, and it's like more feely almost for some women. Some men are like that too also, but I always just want my clients and customers to feel comfortable and like there's no dumb questions and, ask me anything, I'm here. And then follow-up is so important. And I'm not like 100% great at that myself either. I'll tell you that. I should be doing that more, but sometimes when it is busy, it's hard. But just talking to people, you're in the grocery store, talk to somebody, you're in a restaurant, you can find some way to bring it up somehow about real estate. And then, somebody might know somebody and, oh, I like her, you should give her a call or something like that. But past clients, I get a lot of business from them, whether it be family members or friends or, colleagues. But relationships are really important. And like my motto is just treat people how you would like to be treated. And, personally, I had a really bad real estate experience. My first house we bought, and there were things that wasn't, I wasn't looked out for. So I really always think back to that. Okay, I want to make sure that my client never experiences anything like that. So I'm going to watch out for them, or make sure go above and beyond. But relationships are really, really important, and just having conversations, just getting business that way.
So good. Thank you for that, Mackenzie. And let's go to Leo.
All right. So, you don't know what you don't know, whether you are new agent or a veteran agent. We just know what we've seen, heard, or felt, right? And that's the key here. Mackenzie said, I look out for my clients because of my experiences. And Stuart was talking about, or Jason was talking about how they do their business as well. I would say this, instead of looking for something new, look at your phone book, right? Even for the new agents, just look at your phone book. If you are married, if you are single, the company you worked before, the people you went to college with, they are all in certain stage of life, in certain seasons of life. They're either looking for a new job, getting married, having kids, buying a house, selling a house, somebody's sick, something's happening. Create a bonding with that relationship. Send them, this is a great time of the year. Collect 10 per week of your phone book and just send them a card that speaks to them to that specific season they are living in. Connect first. Do business second. Once you do the first connection with that person, it's okay. You have permission to tell them, look, this year I want to focus on serving the people that I know a little better. Or if you're just starting in real estate, I just got into real estate and I want to create something for the people that grew up with me. What are the challenges that you guys are seeing to buy a house or to sell a house or to do something? But look at your own phone book that way. And the reason I say your own phone book, don't think about just the phone book. Think about your social media closest people that you actually have interaction with them. And if you start there, it's amazing what grows out of there.
That is so good. Thank you all for those words of wisdom. This has been a great chat. There's been some great information shared. And I think just, the key themes here was the importance of consistency, following up, taking time for you and giving yourself some self-care and knowing your audience in a way where you can then provide either communication solutions or answers that speak to them where they're at. So thank you to Jason, Stuart, Mackenzie, Leo. This is a separation season. This is a time when you guys can go and lead and build your business and separate yourselves from the pack. So for everyone that attended and listened in, thank you. Hope you took away some great insights, and let's all go out and make 2025 the best year yet.
Awesome. I want to thank you all for joining on the panel today. It was an excellent panel. And if you are watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. We will not be here next week, next Friday, for an ICONversations because it is going to be the new year. So happy new year and happy holidays to everyone.